The Silent Strike. Admiral Elena Santos stood at the viewport of Earth's orbital command, her weathered hands clasped behind her back as she watched the massive Galactic Council vessel emerge from hyperspace. The alien ship's crystalline surface caught Earth's sunlight, creating a deceptively beautiful display that belied its true purpose. On her wrist, the countdown timer continued its relentless advance. 47 hours until the Council's deadline. "Display the ultimatum again," she commanded softly. The AI projected the Council's message in crisp holographic text. "By decree of the Galactic Council, Earth will commence immediate delivery of 30% of all rare Earth elements mined within its system. Non-compliance will result in quarantine and severance from all galactic trade routes. You have 50 standard hours to begin resource transfers." Elena's jaw tightened. After 2 centuries of treating Earth as a primitive backwater unworthy of full membership, the Council had finally revealed their true face. Earth's rapid advancement in quantum computing had spooked them, and now they sought to cripple humanity's progress through resource deprivation. Admiral, her XO, Commander David Chen, approached with a datapad. "The Council representatives are requesting permission to dock. They want to supervise our compliance preparations." Elena allowed herself a small smile. "Grant them access. Initiate Protocol Lighthouse." Throughout Earth's orbital facilities, invisible changes began taking place. Quantum signatures shifted, computer systems adjusted their outputs, and carefully crafted illusions settled into place. The Council's observers would see exactly what humanity wanted them to see: a civilization scrambling to comply with their demands. The reality was something else entirely. Deep beneath the Mariana Trench, in a facility known only to a handful of humans, Dr. Maya Patil activated the quantum entanglement chamber. Banks of specialized computers hummed to life, their advanced processors, the true extent of Earth's quantum computing capabilities, beginning their delicate work. "Initiation sequence complete," Maya announced to the gathered operations team. "The Council's quantum networks are now fully mapped. Their entire communication infrastructure is visible to us." On the main display, a complex web of light represented the Council's supposedly unbreakable quantum communications network. For centuries, they had believed their technology to be beyond humanity's comprehension. They had never considered that Earth might have surpassed them decades ago, choosing to hide their advancement behind a carefully maintained facade of technological inferiority. "Begin Phase 1, Maya commanded. "Deploy the quantum shadows." Across Council space, microscopic anomalies began appearing in their network. Too small to trigger alarms, these digital phantoms would lay dormant until needed, waiting to sever the Council's communication abilities at a crucial moment. In Geneva's underground financial complex, analyst Sarah Chen reviewed the final simulations. Her team had spent years mapping the Council's economic systems, identifying critical vulnerabilities in their trade networks. The Council's fundamental mistake was believing their own propaganda, that humanity was too primitive to understand their advanced financial systems. "All shadow accounts are in position," Sarah reported through the secure quantum channel. "We can initiate the cascade whenever ordered." The Council had never understood why Earth maintained its primitive stock markets and human traders alongside AI systems. They dismissed it as evidence of humanity's technological backwardness. They would soon learn that chaos and unpredictability could be the deadliest weapons of all. Admiral Santos watched as the Council's delegation ship docked with the orbital station. The aliens would find exactly what they expected: a primitive species scrambling to comply with their demands. They would see frantic activity in the mining facilities, panicked government meetings, and resignation from military leadership. What they wouldn't see were the quantum triggers being planted in their ship systems by the very docking protocols that demanded Earth use. They wouldn't notice the subtle changes in their neural interfaces as Earth's true AI systems began their infiltration. Most importantly, they wouldn't recognize that every reaction, every submission, every panicked response was calculated to reinforce their own arrogance. "Admiral." Commander Chen approached again. The Council observers have begun their inspection. They're expressing disappointment in our technological standards. Elena nodded, suppressing a smile. Ensure they have full access to our primitive systems. Let them see exactly how far behind we are. In the quantum facility beneath the ocean, Maya watched as the Council observers interfaced with Earth's decoy networks. Each connection gave her team deeper access to the Council's own systems. Their arrogance was their weakness. They were so convinced of their superiority that their security protocols never considered the possibility of infiltration from a lesser species. Phase 1 completion at 60%, Maya reported. Their neural networks are accepting our quantum shadows without resistance. They've detected nothing. Admiral Santos received the update with grim satisfaction. Humanity had spent decades preparing for this moment, ever since the first Council scouts had dismissed Earth as an insignificant backwater. While the Council had watched for military buildup, for obvious signs of advancement, humanity had chosen a different path. They had learned to hide, to deceive, to appear weak while growing strong. They had studied the Council's every weakness, mapped every vulnerability, and prepared a response that would shake the foundations of galactic society. The countdown on Elena's wrist continued its steady march. 46 hours until the deadline. In less than 2 days, the Council would learn why Earth had maintained its primitive military structures instead of relying solely on AI. They would understand why humans still studied ancient strategies of deception and misdirection. Most importantly, they would discover that humanity's greatest strength lay not in their technology, but in their ability to turn an enemy's strength against them. Send word to all commands, Elena ordered. Operation Looking Glass is proceeding as planned. When the Council demands our submission in 46 hours, we will give them exactly what they expect: our complete surrender. She turned from the viewport, her expression hardening. And then we will show them why every species that has ever underestimated humanity has lived to regret it. Throughout Earth's hidden facilities, humans continued their silent preparations. In quantum labs, financial centers, and military installations, they waited patiently for the moment when humanity would reveal its true face to the galaxy. The Council had pushed Earth too far, demanding tribute like ancient conquerors. They would soon learn that humanity's apparent submission masked a deadly purpose. The countdown continued, each passing second bringing the Council closer to a revelation that would shatter their understanding of the galaxy. Humanity wasn't weak. They weren't primitive. They were patient predators who had spent decades preparing for this moment. And in 46 hours, the galaxy would never be the same. Digital ghosts. Dr. Marcus Zhang sat in the darkness of his quantum lab beneath Beijing, his fingers dancing across holographic interfaces as he watched the Council's neural network light up like a vast constellation. Each point of light represented a Council official, their enhanced minds interconnected through what they believed to be unhackable quantum channels. Quantum shadow integration at 98%, his AI assistant reported. Council neural activity patterns maintaining baseline. No detection of our presence. Marcus allowed himself a small smile. The Council's greatest vulnerability lay in their absolute faith in their neural enhancement technology. They had evolved beyond physical neural interfaces, using quantum entanglement to link their minds directly to their network. It was elegant, efficient, and supposedly perfect. And that made it the perfect weapon to use against them. Begin Phase 2, Marcus commanded. Initialize the Whisper Protocol. In orbit above Earth, the Council's observation team continued their inspection of humanity's primitive defense systems. Their neural networks hummed with quiet amusement as they documented Earth's apparent technological backwardness. None of them noticed the subtle shifts in their quantum neural patterns, the microscopic changes that would slowly reshape their perception of reality. High above Mars, Director Samira Patel monitored the operation from humanity's true command center. Neural pattern alterations are holding stable, she reported to Admiral Santos. The Council observers are beginning to experience the first subtle effects. On her screens, she watched as the Council observers' neural patterns shifted almost imperceptibly. They would find Earth's technology slightly less primitive with each passing hour, but the change would be so gradual that their own neural networks would adjust to accept it as truth. How long until they begin questioning their initial assessments? Admiral Santos asked through the quantum secure channel. The Whisper protocol is designed to work slowly, Samira explained. Too rapid a change would trigger their cognitive defense systems. We're not trying to control their thoughts. We're simply introducing doubt, uncertainty, and most importantly, curiosity. In his Beijing lab, Marcus watched as the first signs of the protocol's success began to appear. Council observers were spending longer examining Earth's primitive quantum computers, their neural patterns showing increasing signs of confusion and reassessment. "They're starting to see past our facade," he reported. But rather than recognizing it as deception, their minds are creating new narratives to explain their observations. The cognitive dissonance is working in our favor. The Council's neural network was based on the principle of shared truth. When enough linked minds accepted something as fact, it became part of their collective understanding. By subtly influencing key observers, humanity was planting the seeds of doubt in the entire Council's collective consciousness. In Geneva, Sarah Chen's financial team monitored the secondary effects. Council trading algorithms were already showing signs of adjustment, responding to their operators' shifting perceptions of Earth's capabilities. "They're hedging their positions," Sarah noted with satisfaction. Their economic AI systems are detecting the changes in Council behavior patterns and adapting accordingly. The groundwork for Phase 3 is laying itself. Aboard the orbital station, Commander Chen continued to guide the Council observers through carefully orchestrated demonstrations. Each primitive system they examined contained hidden quantum triggers that interfaced with their neural networks, reinforcing the Whisper protocol's subtle influence. "Their arrogance is their weakness," Chen reported to Admiral Santos. "They're so convinced of their superiority that they're rationalizing every discrepancy they encounter. Their minds are doing our work for us." The countdown on Alina's wrist now showed 34 hours until the Council's deadline. In just over a day, humanity would seemingly submit to their demands. But by then, the Council's own neural networks would have begun the process of unraveling their certainties. Deep in lunar orbit, hidden from Council sensors, Dr. Yuki Tanaka monitored the quantum shadow network's expansion. Through the Council observers' own neural interfaces, humanity's digital ghosts were spreading throughout their civilization's quantum infrastructure. "The beauty of it," Yuki explained to her team, "is that we're not attacking their network. We're becoming part of it. By the time they realize what's happening, our quantum shadows will be indistinguishable from their own neural patterns." In the Mariana Trench facility, Maya Patel received Yuki's report with satisfaction. The Council had spent centuries perfecting their neural network, making it so complex and interconnected that no outside force could compromise it. They had never considered that this complexity made it perfect for infiltration by subtle, patient invaders. "Begin deploying the memory seeds," Maya ordered. "Let's give their collective consciousness something new to consider." Throughout Council space, quantum shadows began introducing microscopic packets of information into their neural network. Ancient Earth military histories, studies of human adaptation and survival, subtle reminders of species that had underestimated humanity in the past. Nothing obvious enough to trigger alerts, just whispers in their collective consciousness. Admiral Santos reviewed the progress reports with growing satisfaction. The Council had demanded Earth's submission in 34 hours, expecting to find a primitive civilization cowed by their technological superiority. Instead, they had unknowingly connected themselves to humanity's most sophisticated weapon, a digital ghost in their neural machine. Update from the quantum teams, Commander Chen reported. The Council observers' neural patterns are showing a 15% increase in respect-coded responses to human achievements. The Whisper protocol is exceeding expected effectiveness. Elena nodded. The Council's greatest mistake wasn't in threatening Earth. It was in giving humanity access to their neural networks through their own observers. Every hour they spent examining Earth's primitive systems brought them closer to a revelation they wouldn't even recognize as external manipulation. In his Beijing lab, Marcus initiated the final stages of Phase 2. Quantum shadows are now present in 82% of Council neural nodes, he reported. When they attempt to sever Earth from their trade networks, they'll find their own neural infrastructure has become dependent on connections they didn't know existed. The digital ghosts continued their quiet work, reshaping the Council's collective consciousness with patience and precision. In 34 hours, humanity would appear to surrender to their demands. But by then, the Council's own neural networks would have begun to question everything they thought they knew about Earth. The countdown continued, and with each passing second, humanity's digital phantoms dug deeper into the Council's perfect neural network, preparing for the moment when the true extent of human capabilities would be impossible to deny or resist. The economic serpent. Analyst Sarah Chen stood in the heart of Earth's financial command, surrounded by holographic displays showing the intricate web of the Council's galactic economy. Each glowing strand represented billions in trade flows, every intersection a potential pressure point waiting to be exploited. "Initiate Operation Ouroboros," she commanded. Across the room, dozens of human traders began their carefully choreographed dance, their actions guided by decades of preparation and analysis. The Council had never understood why Earth insisted on maintaining human financial operators alongside AI systems. They saw it as inefficient, primitive, and foolish. They were about to learn why unpredictability could be the deadliest weapon of all. "First wave of transactions deploying," reported James Rodriguez, her chief of asymmetric operations. "Shadow accounts are activating across 57 trading hubs. All movements still within normal parameters." On the main display, tiny perturbations began appearing in the Council's economic flows. Nothing dramatic enough to trigger alarms, just slight irregularities in trading patterns, minor inefficiencies in resource allocation, small delays in transaction processing. "The beauty of their system is its very perfection," Sarah explained to Admiral Santos, who watched via quantum link. "They've eliminated all volatility, all uncertainty. Their trading AIs can't conceive of deliberately inefficient transactions." In orbit, the Council observers continued their inspection of Earth's financial systems, their neural networks humming with dismissive amusement at the seemingly chaotic human trading floors. They didn't notice how each interaction with Earth's primitive systems allowed Sarah's team deeper access to the Council's economic infrastructure. "Phase 3 completion at 40%, James reported. "Their market AIs are responding exactly as predicted, attempting to optimize the inefficiencies we're introducing, thereby spreading them further through their system." Deep within the Council's trading networks, humanity's economic infiltrators were executing a strategy centuries in the making. While the Council had built their economy on the principle of perfect efficiency, humanity had spent generations studying the power of controlled chaos. "Begin introducing the variant trades," Sarah ordered. Across Council space, thousands of small accounts began making trades that defied conventional logic, buying high, selling low, investing in failing ventures while dumping profitable ones. "Their AIs are attempting to compensate," James noted with satisfaction. "They're trying to balance out our irrational behavior by making larger counteracting trades. Every attempt to restore efficiency only increases their exposure to our positions." In lunar orbit, Dr. Tanaka's quantum team monitored the neural responses of Council economic officials. "The Whisper protocol is amplifying their confusion," she reported. "Their enhanced minds are struggling to reconcile the growing irregularities with their understanding of economic principles." The Council's perfect economic system was facing something it had never been designed to handle: deliberate imperfection as a weapon. Each attempt by their AIs to restore order only served to spread the contagion of chaos further. 28 hours until their deadline," Admiral Santos noted. "How long until the economic effects become irreversible?" Sarah studied the patterns flowing across her displays. Their system is already past the point of no return. They just don't know it yet. When they try to enforce their quarantine of Earth, they'll discover that their entire economic infrastructure has become dependent on our irrational trading patterns. Throughout Council space, trading AIs continued their futile attempt to optimize away the growing irregularities. They couldn't understand that their very efforts to restore perfection were actually encoding chaos into the system's fundamental operations. Second wave initiating, James announced, introducing targeted inefficiencies in resource allocation algorithms. The Council's economy was built on the assumption that all actors would behave rationally, seeking maximum efficiency and profit. They had no defense against an opponent who deliberately chose to act against their own apparent economic interests. In Geneva's underground complex, Sarah's human traders continued their work, each seemingly random action part of a greater pattern designed to turn the Council's economic strength into a weakness. They built their system to be perfect, Sarah explained to her team. But perfect systems have a critical vulnerability. They can't adapt to deliberate imperfection. By trying to optimize away our chaos, they're actually helping us reshape their entire economic infrastructure. On her primary display, the first major trading hub began showing signs of strain. The Council's AIs were committing more and more resources to counteract the growing irregularities, creating exactly the vulnerabilities Earth's strategy required. Update from quantum infiltration, James reported. Council economic officials are starting to show increased neural activity in their risk assessment centers. The Whisper protocol is making them question their own system's stability. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The Council had demanded Earth's submission, believing their perfect economy gave them absolute power. They had never considered that their greatest strength could become their greatest vulnerability. Deploy the final elements of Operation Ouroboros, she commanded. Throughout Council space, dormant economic algorithms awakened, ready to introduce the last crucial elements of controlled chaos into their perfect system. In 28 hours, the Council would attempt to enforce their demands. But by then, their economy would be inextricably linked to the very irregularities they sought to eliminate. The serpent of chaos would be firmly embedded in their system, ready to demonstrate why humanity's embrace of uncertainty was not a weakness, but a source of incredible strength. Message from Admiral Santos, James announced. Operation Looking Glass is proceeding to final stages. All teams are to prepare for ultimate convergence. Sarah nodded, watching as her carefully orchestrated economic chaos continued to spread through the Council's trading networks. Soon they would learn that perfect systems were not resilient systems, and that humanity's apparent primitive nature masked a deeper understanding of how to turn order into chaos, and chaos into power. The countdown continued, marking humanity's patient advance toward a revelation that would reshape the galaxy's economic order forever. In the heart of Earth's financial command, Sarah Chen and her team of chaos agents continued their work, knowing that sometimes the deadliest serpent was the one you invited into your own garden. Wolves among sheep. Captain Maria Reyes removed her Council-issued neural interface with practiced care, her movements exactly matching those of the thousands of other maintenance workers ending their shifts across Council space. As far as their perfect system was concerned, she was simply Unit 847B, a low-level technician assigned to their primary military communications hub. Status update. She subvocalized into her quantum-encrypted comm unit, her words carried through channels hidden within the Council's own networks. Operation Shadow Wolf is entering final phase. Director Jack Harper responded from his hidden command center on Titan. All sleeper agents are in position. 22 hours until convergence. For 30 years, humanity had been quietly infiltrating agents into Council space. While their observers dismissed Earth as primitive, humans have been gradually embedding themselves into every level of Council society. From maintenance workers to mid-level bureaucrats, they had become the invisible infrastructure that kept the Council's perfect system running. Begin activating the secondary protocols, Jack ordered. Throughout Council space, thousands of seemingly ordinary workers began making subtle adjustments to their daily routines. Each small change was insignificant alone, but together they would create precisely targeted points of failure throughout the Council's infrastructure. In a luxury apartment on the Council's capital world, Ambassador Lin Wei prepared for another tedious diplomatic reception. After 20 years playing the role of a minor trade representative from a backward world, she had become almost invisible to the Council's elite. "Diplomatic corps is ready," she reported through her secure channel. "When the Council attempts to announce Earth's submission, they'll find their communication systems have developed some interesting quirks." Deep within the Council's primary military installation, senior technician John Martinez, officially registered as a Class C maintenance drone, continued his methodical work on their defense networks. The Council's AIs sought exactly what they expected: routine maintenance by a simple worker. They didn't notice how each diagnostic cycle allowed him to embed new vulnerabilities into their supposedly impenetrable systems. "Military infrastructure is prepared," he reported. "When they try to enforce their quarantine, their own defense systems will experience unexpected behaviors." On Titan, Director Harper reviewed the incoming status reports with grim satisfaction. Humanity's greatest advantage, he explained to Admiral Santos via quantum link, is that they never saw us as a threat. They were so convinced of their superiority that they never noticed how dependent they'd become on the very primitives they dismissed. Maria Reyes made her way through the Council's communications hub, nodding to her fellow workers. None of them, not even the Council's vaunted security AI, recognized that her seemingly random maintenance patterns had spent years creating a complex web of vulnerabilities throughout their system. The Council's greatest weakness, she subvocalized, isn't their technology or their arrogance. It's their inability to conceive of long-term, patient opposition. They've forgotten what it means to be truly threatened. In the Council's financial district, hundreds of human agents posing as simple data clerks continued their daily work. Each transaction they processed, each record they filed, contained hidden triggers waiting to be activated. The Council's economic AIs saw only routine activities by unremarkable workers. "Status update from economic infiltration teams," Jack reported. "All financial systems are compromised. When Sarah Chen's team initiates their final moves, our agents will ensure maximum propagation through their networks." Ambassador Lin circulated through the diplomatic reception, playing her role of minor functionary perfectly. The Council diplomats barely noticed her presence, never suspecting that their casual conversations were being analyzed and transmitted to Earth's command center through quantum channels hidden in their own networks. "They're celebrating already," she reported with quiet amusement. "They're convinced Earth's submission is inevitable. Several senior officials are already planning how to exploit our resources. In orbital stations, planetary installations, and space-based facilities across Council territory, humanity's deep-cover agents continued their patient work. Each was a carefully placed piece in a vast puzzle, ready to reveal its true pattern at the crucial moment. 18 hours until deadline. Director Harper announced to all agents, "Maintain current operations. Let them continue believing in their superiority." Maria Reyes completed her shift at the communications hub, her movements still perfectly matching expected patterns. As she left, she allowed herself a small smile. The Council had spent centuries building their perfect society, never realizing they were gradually surrendering control of its foundations to the very species they dismissed as primitive. Final confirmation from all sector leads, Jack reported to Admiral Santos. "Our wolves are in position throughout their flock. When they move to enforce their demands, they'll discover that their entire civilization has been quietly reshaped by the primitives they never bothered to fear." Throughout Council space, humanity's agents continued their patient infiltration. In maintenance bays, office complexes, and control centers, they maintained their careful disguises while preparing for the moment when humanity would reveal its true capabilities. "Message from Quantum Infiltration Team," Maria reported as she boarded her transport home. "Council neural network modifications are holding stable. When we activate our sleeper protocols, their own enhanced minds will prevent them from recognizing the extent of our infiltration until it's too late. The countdown continued its steady advance toward the deadline. In 16 hours, the Council would demand Earth's submission, never suspecting that their perfect society had already been compromised at every level by the very species they sought to subjugate. All wolves maintain current protocols, Director Harper commanded. Let them believe in their victory until the very moment we choose to show them our teeth. The Council had built their civilization on the assumption that no primitive species could threaten them. They were about to learn that sometimes the most dangerous predator was the one that had patience enough to become part of your flock. Dawn of recognition. Admiral Elena Santos stood in Earth's true command center beneath the Martian surface, watching as the final seconds counted down on her display. Around her, holographic screens showed the culmination of decades of preparation as all of humanity's careful plans converge. Council representatives are preparing to broadcast their victory announcement, Commander Chen reported. Their neural networks are showing high levels of satisfaction and anticipation. Let them have their moment, Elena replied quietly. Initiate Operation Looking Glass. All teams, execute final protocols. Throughout Council space, humanity's hidden agents began their synchronized actions. In the Council's primary communications hub, Maria Rice activated the triggers she'd spent years embedding in their systems. Ambassador Lin Wei stood ready in the Council's Grand Assembly, her diplomatic credentials about to serve a very different purpose. Quantum shadows are fully integrated, Dr. Marcus Zhang reported from Beijing. Their neural network is now more our system than theirs. They just don't know it yet. The Council's Supreme Administrator stood before the assembled galactic media, his enhanced mind radiating confidence through their shared neural network. Today marks a significant moment in galactic history, he began. Earth has wisely chosen to accept our guidance and... His words cut off abruptly as humanity's quantum shadows activated throughout their neural network. Suddenly, every Council member with neural enhancements found themselves experiencing something entirely new, direct access to the truth about humanity's capabilities. Neural pattern shifts are stable, Dr. Tanaka reported from lunar orbit. They're experiencing the full download of everything we've hidden from them. Their own enhanced minds are preventing them from rejecting the information. In the Council's economic centers, Sarah Chen's team activated their final protocols. The careful pattern of chaos they'd woven into the Council's perfect economy suddenly revealed its true purpose. Every attempt to reject Earth's influence would cause cascading failures throughout their financial systems. Their trading AIs are locked in our optimization loops, Sarah reported with satisfaction. They've become dependent on our irrational patterns to maintain stability. Any attempt to isolate Earth's economy will trigger total systematic collapse. In the Council chamber, Ambassador Lin Wei watched as realization dawned across the faces of the galaxy's most powerful beings. Their neural networks, supposedly their greatest strength, were now forcing them to confront the full extent of their miscalculation. How? The Supreme Administrator managed, his enhanced mind struggling with the flood of revelations. How long have you? Since the beginning, Lin replied calmly, addressing the assembled Council for the first time as a true representative of Earth's power. Every time you dismissed us as primitive, we embedded ourselves deeper into your society. Every time you celebrated your superiority, we turned your strengths into vulnerabilities. Throughout Council space, humanity's deep cover agents revealed their true capabilities. Security systems, defense networks, and communication hubs that had been maintained by simple human workers suddenly demonstrated exactly who had really been in control all along. Message from Director Harper, Commander Chen reported. All sleeper cells are active. The Council's military installations are now operating under our protocols. Their entire defense network has been quietly redesigned over the years by our infiltrators. In the quantum realm, Marcus Young's team allowed the Council's neural network to fully comprehend the extent of humanity's technological advancement. They witnessed how their own arrogance had blinded them to Earth's true capabilities, how their dismissal of primitive human methods had allowed an entire civilization to prepare for this moment. Their neural patterns are stabilizing, Dr. Tanaka reported. They're beginning to accept the new reality. The Whisper Protocol succeeded in preparing their minds for this revelation. Admiral Santos stepped forward, activating a direct connection to every neural network in Council space. You demanded Earth's submission, she broadcast. Instead, we offer you a choice. Acknowledge humanity as equals, recognize our right to self-determination, and we can work together to create a truly balanced galactic society. She paused, allowing the Council members to feel the weight of their situation through their neural interfaces, or discover exactly how deeply we've embedded ourselves into every aspect of your civilization. The choice is yours. Throughout Council space, the perfect society that had dismissed humanity as primitive came to terms with a staggering reality. Their neural networks had been compromised, their economy reshaped, their military infrastructure redesigned, all by the very species they had sought to subjugate. Their neural patterns are showing acceptance, Marcus reported. The quantum shadows are helping their enhanced minds process the situation without triggering denial or rejection. In the Council chamber, the Supreme Administrator slowly rose. Through the neural network, every Council member could feel the shift in his understanding, the recognition of how completely they had underestimated humanity. We acknowledge Earth as a full and equal member of galactic society, he declared, his enhanced mind unable to deny the reality humanity had revealed. All demands are withdrawn. The galaxy must know the truth. We are not superior to humanity. We simply fail to recognize their true nature until they chose to show us. Admiral Santos allowed herself a small smile as she received the Council's formal acknowledgement. Humanity had achieved in hours what centuries of conventional diplomacy had failed to accomplish, not through warfare or violence, but through patience, preparation, and the careful exploitation of their enemies' own strengths. Send word to all teams, she ordered. Operation Looking Glass is complete. Maintain current protocols but begin gradual system normalization. Let's show them that humanity can be as skilled at rebuilding trust as we were at earning respect. Throughout the galaxy, a new era began, one where humanity's place in the cosmic order was finally recognized. The Council had pushed Earth too far, demanding submission from a species they had fatally underestimated. In doing so, they had learned humanity's greatest lesson. True strength lies not in perfection, but in the ability to turn apparent weakness into unprecedented power.